Hi everyone, Nola from Glam and Glory. Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be talking to you about 7 things that your college professors and experts didn't tell you about what it takes to get your first job. I know with the pandemic, there are people graduating from graduate school and undergrad who are really struggling to get their first job, so I'm going to give some tips based on my experience. Okay, so the first tip is to start early. I remember when I was in school, finishing up my master's, I was like, oh, I'll just be able to wait till my thesis is done, wait till the defense is done, and then I can apply to jobs. No, you really need to start early. Many hiring managers know that a lot of graduations happen in April, May, sometimes maybe June. And so they are anticipating that the very competitive students, those high performers, people at the top of their class, will start interviewing and applying early, as in the winter, in the early spring, not when it's close to graduation. So you really want to set yourself apart. You really want to impress hiring managers. Start sending in your resume, start doing those applications, even just doing an email and saying, hey, I'm interested in the future, could I have a chat with you? You really want to get that process started very, very early. The second tip is that you really need to put in the work and the hustle. This kind of builds on this first tip. You need to be actively emailing people, asking for informational interviews, asking for coffee chats. Even in the virtual space, you can still do this. But those are the things that are going to set you apart, because if you're not proactive in the process, it'll really be a tough time. Because once people, have met with you, they want to help you, they're more inclined to make different introductions for you. Whatever it takes, you really need to put out many different feelers and to make sure that you are spreading a wide net so that you'll be able to have something. Because if you wait too late, you haven't really done the work, done those informational interviews, sent those emails, it'll be a lot harder for you to find something when you need it. The third tip is that you really, really want to work and build and expand your network. You may have heard the saying before, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And even though I don't necessarily think it should be that way, I really do think it leans heavily towards that. If you've shadowed at a place before or you had an internship somewhere, you really want to continue to keep those relationships and build upon those. And when you're ready to not just email them when you're ready and need a job, but even ahead of time, weeks, months before, to be saying, hey, I'll be graduating in May. Let me know if you hear of any opportunities. If you hear of anything, please keep me in mind, because those referrals and people vouching for you and saying, I've worked with this person or this person interned for me, it really does go a really long way to set you apart from other candidates. It's like an extra step to kind of get your name in the door, to get your name said in those rooms where you're not there, to have people advocating for you. So really, really important is work on expanding that network, because who you know definitely matters. The more people that you have who can send emails on your behalf, say, hey, have you heard of any openings? Do you know anyone? Or if someone's leaving their team, can you keep this person in mind? It really does make a difference. The fourth tip is to get a mentor. I would say you really want to look for someone who is in the field, someone who is a few years ahead of you, who you can ask about what are their tips for interviewing. What are some questions you should be prepared for? What are some tips for your resume? Can they review your resume before they send it? You absolutely do not want any typos or issues in your resume. Even though, of course, everyone makes mistakes sometimes, and it's not the end of the world to have a mistake in your resume, but there are absolutely hiring managers who will see one mistake and say this person should be excluded. And you should have people in the field, preferably even at the company where you want to work, reviewing it for you in advance. So definitely get a mentor, someone who's willing to have a conversation with you on the phone, to prep you before an interview. I highly recommend doing practice interviews before a real interview, just to help you feel more comfortable. Another thing for interviews is, and this wasn't a tip that I planned, but power poses really do work before interviews, even if you're doing it virtually, since now, there are still interviews happening virtually. Do a power pose before you hop on that call. Make sure you get into the Zoom room early, that you look okay, that your background is neat, that there won't be noise or people walking in on you during the interview. So definitely prepare very well for your interview as well. The fifth tip is to build a strong foundation. And what I mean by that is that you need to be speaking the language, knowing a little bit or a lot of bit about the role that you are going to apply for, so that when you show up, you can really show that you've done your homework, you've done your research, you understand what the role is about, and that you are prepared and eager to learn. It makes a big difference. Every field has their niche terms and acronyms that only apply to that field. For example, I work in research, so EMR, the Electronic Medical Record, SAE, Serious Adverse Event, IRB, our Institutional Review Board or Ethics Committee. These are things that if you had experience or you had a work-study job in the field, you should know some of those terms. So definitely you want to brush up on the terminology and really do your homework. And this again ties into your mentor, informational interviews to help you really be set up for success so that you're showing up feeling like you have a step ahead and like you are anticipating what the questions are that you're going to be asked and that you really can put your best foot forward. The sixth tip is to build and nurture relationships. I will never forget when I was a freshman in college, I was at office hours with one of my professors, and someone had come by and asked her for a letter of recommendation. And, I was just sitting there quietly. She continued to have this conversation, and she said to the person, I'm so sorry. I don't remember you being actively involved in class. I would be able to say the grade that you got, where that placed you in the class, but I wouldn't be able to speak to your character, so it probably wouldn't be a very strong letter. And I remember hearing that, being absolutely shocked, and I was like, wow, I really need to step up my game and come correct if I want these professors to be able to vouch for me. Sometimes if it's your first job, you'll need your recommendations to come from your professors. So make sure that you're keeping in touch, that you're giving updates, that you're letting them know, hey, I'll be applying for a few jobs. Can I rely on you for a strong recommendation? And it's very important, that key word that you're saying, a strong recommendation, a strong reference, because if you don't say that, there are people who will submit something that's just lackluster, that's just okay, and that will absolutely not cut it. Your references need to be absolutely glowing. They need to be able to speak to your work ethic, to your experience. If you have great references, if you have great recommendations, then people will want to take a chance on you, even if they know you will have something to learn in the role. There's very little jobs where we'll take the job and we'll know everything that the role requires. We're always going to learn. But when it's your first job, it's always kind of a harder sell to the hiring manager to take a chance on you. But if you do these steps and leverage your relationships and your recommenders and your references, it'll definitely help you, and it's a step in the right direction. The seventh and last tip is to ask for feedback. And what I mean by this is, let's say you interview for a role and you don't hear back. It's okay in a few weeks to follow up and say, hey, just wanted to follow up. I'm really interested in the role. And let's say they get back to you and they say, I'm so sorry, Jane Doe, but actually we didn't choose you as a finalist for the role. You should follow up and say, thank you so much. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm very eager to learn. So would you be willing to provide me some feedback on what I could do differently in my interview, or how I could have proven myself as a stronger candidate? Because 9 times out of 10, hiring managers are happy to share feedback with you and let you know how you can improve. When I was looking for a job a long time ago, I used that strategy and it really helped, and people were more than happy to share with me ways that I could improve, and it really helped me to build upon that for future interviews. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoy content like this or found this helpful, let me know. I do manage a team, so I'd be happy to provide more content like this about leadership and strategies around building and managing a team. I also have a video about my November favorites, so if you're interested in skincare and lifestyle, you can click that video right over here. Thanks so much. Bye.